Ladies, gents, aunties and uncles, welcome to Dozy Corner. I'm Fidelis.
And I am Deborah, and we are glad to welcome you into this space.
Ladies, gents, aunties and uncles, welcome to another episode of Dozy Corner. I'm Fidelis, and here is my lovely co-host.
I'm Deborah.
Today we have a guest, so we are excited. It's always good to have someone on set. And here is the lovely Akinyi. Let's let her introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Akinyi, and I'm a mental health professional, specifically a creative arts therapist. I work with creativity to facilitate healing, and I've been in the field for quite some time, and recently just moved to Canada. And
Welcome. It's a beautiful country.
Yeah. It's an interesting place to be, and very happy to be having this conversation on, mental health and other things concerning the African diaspora people. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
So are we. Thank you for this introduction. Mm-hmm. You said that you are a therapist, mm-hmm. and so we would like to know a little bit more about your background. Mm-hmm. So how did that desire to work in the field start? Where did that come from?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I'd say maybe when I was, around 16, there. I was doing my, equivalent of like CEGEP here, which is A-levels. I did a British system, so I did psychology during my A-levels, and I found it really interesting, like the personality tests and, getting to research how people learn things, why we behave the way we do. So I found it really interesting. And so that love for working with people and understanding how people work and helping other people understand how they work seemed very interesting and very intriguing. So that's where the desire was born. But I always knew it wouldn't be just a regular clinical psychologist in the office, and I knew that because I'm an artist, because I'm a creative, that it would be something more expansive, something more holistic. That's a better word to use. Something more holistic, something more body-based, creativity-based. Because when I find that when I'm going through a hard time, I read a lot of poetry, so sometimes I do that with my clients in the sessions. So, so the love for psychology and getting to know how people work started a long time ago. And then recently, I would say maybe from 2020, around there, 2019, working as a drama teacher, there were a lot of emotional things that my students were bringing into our classes. And I was like, this is a perfect opportunity to practice some of those hard conversations right here, right now, And I was like, okay, there must be a way to marry drama and psychology. And so that's what got me into creative arts therapy. I was already doing I wouldn't call it like art and music therapy, but we were using art and music for therapeutic purposes for children in a cancer ward. So that then got me into, there must be something like drama therapy. So searched for it, found a school, and on I came. So psychology, mental health, has so many different facets, so many different angles to wellness and health, and
So that was a little bit of your background. Thank you for that. And if we want to dive into the topic of today, which is mental health, I would like us to do so by you telling us the definition of mental health.
Yeah, right.
And right after that, me and Fidelis are going to tell you and our viewers what is the difference between good mental health and poor mental health? And then you're going to correct us because you're the professional. Okay, how does that sound?
That sounds good. Okay. That sounds good. I don't think that there is one definition of mental health. But if, you can Google if you like, but I feel that how I define mental health or mental wellness, I could say that, is being in a state of ease and flow. Even it's like a river. Even though there are rocks there, the water will go around the rock or on top of the rock and splash, but the water will always move despite the boulders and the things that are there. So that's what I feel like mental health or mental wellness is this ease and flow through the ups and downs of life. Yeah. So, and learning how to navigate the world with ease takes, it's a skill. We think that we should we should be happy, we should learn how to set boundaries and ask for our needs. Well, how will you know if nobody taught you? Exactly. So that's what I think mental wellness is. I wonder what you guys think mental health is. Yeah.
Fidelis, you want to go?
What is? To me, mental health, like you rightly put it, mental well-being. Mm-hmm. To me, I call it, or I define it as a state of say mental calmness. Like you seem to be homeostasis. Like you seem to be in a balanced state. Like again, you have your ups and downs, like you said, but you don't feel crazy. You feel like, oh, this is a bad day. Okay. Tomorrow will be a better day, but then this is a good day, and you're being active, just as you're being like you're being active about it. By that I mean, okay, just like, oh, you could be like, oh, I'm getting weight now, let me go to the gym, like, oh, let me eat this type of food. Or even if you're eating the wrong type of food, I'm talking about like physical health now. Even if you're eating the wrong type of food, oh, this is, McDonald's or some food is not good for you, but you do it anyways. But you have that awareness. So I feel like mental health is now just having that awareness of like, okay, there's my body, but there's also my mental state that sometimes it could be good, it could be in a good shape, it could be in a bad shape, and sometimes I need to protect it, sometimes I need to keep it as it is, but is this other state that that helps me or that keeps me feeling a certain way. Like that's the way I see it. So like almost like physical health, but mentally, like I cannot say it, but it's something I should take care of.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What about you?
For me, mental health, I would say it's either a state in which you're in or a way to live. I guess you can pick both based on the decisions you make on a daily basis, and it just reflects the way you listen to your needs, your body, whether like your needs, when it could be emotional, could be physical, like even just as little things as I'm craving this, or I need space, or I don't want to talk today, or just understanding what makes you comfortable and uncomfortable, what makes you feel good, and taking steps to ensure that your needs are met. You can do that temporarily or decide to make that decision every day. That's how I see it. Wow.
But there's this thing that I would like us to discuss though, because we keep talking about mental health, which is good, but there's a big issue on, like, I call it mental health misconceptions, or like because a lot of our audience are of African origin or members of the diaspora. So I'm really curious on like what are these differences, like, okay, what are these differences in in the way we conceive or conceptualize mental health based on our cultural differences. Have you, especially someone like you that practices and talks to a lot of people, is it something that, what are some of the differences that you found, and how can you somehow educate our audience in the way we perceive like mental health?
That is a very loaded question. Let's dissect and see where to start. First of all, I think right now I think I hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, people don't believe in going to therapy in Africa. It's a white people thing," and things. And it's true. It's true. You know why? Because it has been packaged as and whitewashed, right? But the way we take care of ourselves, like indigenous ways of taking care of ourselves, we knew how to do that, right? When let's say if we're saying like maybe 100 years ago, and we had let's say bonfire in the evenings where people would talk about different things, story time, storytelling. That was the evening television, if you could call it that.
Netflix.
That was Netflix and Fire. There were Netflix and firing, and there were the actors, right? It didn't have to necessarily be a profession or whatever, but the storytelling, the fire time, where people can share stories of fear, stories of pain, stories of hope, that in itself is healing, right? When I'm not sure, but probably your mothers would know, in certain African cultures, when you give birth, your mother-in-law comes and stays with you. She bathes you, massages your body. There's nothing you do except feeding the baby, sleeping, and eating. Can you do that here in North America? Who are you?
Everyone's working.
And then what are you gonna do? You're gonna book to see a therapist and tell them you have postpartum depression, and then they'll work with you and things. So what has happened? We have removed ourselves from community, and so now it's like this mental health thing that we are packaging nicely for you, but no, we as indigenous African people, we know how to heal, right? When it comes to cooking food, how do they know what food to make for you when you have a certain sickness or when you have a certain illness, right? You don't need to go for an MRI scan and see a nutritionist and all of those. So if we go back to our indigenous ways, we will realize that this conversation on mental health is something that we need to go back to our roots, and that's where the conversations should start, and not from this is psychology, therapy, all the fathers of psychology like Freud and Carl Jung and I don't know whoever other white man, that's not where it started.
So from what you're saying, we've always been aware of mental health, or we've been mentally aware. We've
been aware of holistic healing.
Exactly.
Yeah, because we cannot have mental health if what I think is that people are responding appropriately to their environment.
Okay.
So let's say if you don't have rent, if you don't know how you're going to pay the rent this month, for example, let's say for the next month, are you not going to have depression?
Yes.
Are you not going to be anxious? Are you not going to have insomnia? Those are appropriate responses. So mental health cannot be removed from emotional, physical, and also basic need wellness. Yeah.
So what creates, so we're talking about like homeostasis, right? So you have that balance. So what creates that distortion in homeostasis, which is, I would say, sickness. So in this case, if you go into the mental space, that could be something like, I would say, depression or someone just being down. Is, I think most of the time is when people feel like they don't have the resources to surpass whatever is in front of them. What I'm trying to get at here is a lot of what is causing a lot of what is causing mental illness, especially to us Africans here, is that we don't know where to fit things, right? So I was having this, I've had this conversation a lot with people, like, okay, back in Africa, for example, like you just talked about rent. Maybe if I didn't have rent, or I'm just going through a difficult financial period, I could turn to family, I could turn to friends, or sometimes I'm just in a very bad mood and I just want to talk, and I could, I don't want to be stereotypical of men. We go to the bar, and then we drink, and then we talk, and then we laugh, and then we come home, and it's like, it's gone. Maybe the problem comes back the next day, but you've had that,
some relief.
That relief, you've been able to share that. I feel like sometimes some of the issues that we have is when we come here, it's like, but now we've moved from a communal system back in Africa to, I would say, more of an individualistic or independent system here. So what, in your professional view, what are some of the things that we could do to adapt to these different environments that we find ourselves in, considering our culture and everything together?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. We're finding that as Africans who have moved here, the biggest source of pain and depression is not the winter.
Yeah, it's not the winter. Yep. That's a good one.
It is hearing the language of your people. It is your body tasting and absorbing the food from, your auntie or whatever it is. And so that's why I see a lot of African communities here staying very close to each other, right? And there is power in community. There is a lot of power in community. And especially here in the diaspora, just when you talk to another immigrant or another person who's moved, and you tell them, I'm feeling, there's something, I'm just feeling something, and they will, you don't even
they understand
to explain.
Yep.
Because they know there is a texture of community, of love, of support, and this circular economy of love that we have to build from scratch here, So there are certain, Black organizations that exist that have, I would say, like, for example, the Ghanaian community is quite popular here, and other African and Caribbean communities. And those communities have events. They have, dance, teaching people their traditional dances. That's something that's there, that's available for people to access.
How do we find that middle ground, though? Because you've mentioned, okay, you can get involved in the community, and so you can create those bonds and have those people, and have people that are, like you have something similar with them, so you feel that connection again. But then let's be very realistic here. We're in Canada, right? With all of these festivals that we've talked about, that's all nice, but most of these festivals, for example, is during the summer. What do you do during the winter? I just gave my example of, okay, if after work I could go hang out with my friends. Most of the time you're just being very realistic. After work, there's no time to hang out with your friends. They have to go to the daycare. Time just goes by faster. So there's, like it or not, the way the Western society is built, there's a huge limitation on communalism. So how do we educate the community to cross that bridge between my communal Africanness and the Western realities and the Western resources?
Yeah, it's a very Yeah, wonderful, loaded question. Yeah, okay, so staying in isolation definitely is, the beginning. It's like that's the perfect ground for, for...
Start having the noise in your head.
Exactly. And so, there are moments when you're like, there's so many narratives, there's so many things, I need to say it all out and have somebody arrange it nicely for me, It's like coming with, all these papers and a box full of papers, and it's like, okay, we're going to look chapter 1, okay, this chapter 1 here, chapter 2, and you do it together with a therapist.
Yep.
That's what I really feel therapy is about.
Yep.
It's like, there's so much, many things, and then we arrange them slowly by slowly, and then we look at them. And then by that time you're like, okay, I see where it started, I see where it originated from, I see what is perpetuating the problem, what is continuing this problem. I can see what in my environment, what in my diet, what I'm consuming on social media. I can see how all these things are contributing. I can see how maybe, genetics, like my family, some things are passed down, like addictions, alcoholism. Looking at things from a wider picture, as opposed to good and bad, healthy, not healthy. So there's a wider picture to look at things from. So I think there's definitely no shame in seeing a therapist, seeing a counselor.
What you just said makes a lot of sense, but let's bring it back to context now. It's not out of context, but let me spice this up a little bit. Let me spice this up back to reality. Okay, look, I'm a 40-year-old man.
Okay.
I'm from Cameroon. I believe in my culture. I had my friends. I'm okay in my head. I'm okay. I come to Canada. I was an accountant. I brought my family back home. I brought my family from back home to Canada and all. And I've been in Canada for 5-6 years. You're my daughter. You're probably 17 or 18. You're very mentally aware. Let's take you right now. You're very mentally aware and you're very educated. You understand all of these things that you've explained to me. But I'm an African man. Let's spin this story around. So, but the way I'm reacting, you can tell that I'm depressed, and maybe the best thing is for me to go see a therapist. Now, we all know the therapist will do a great job, but how do you get me there? How do you bring me in that frame of mind? Like, okay, I'm not doing okay mentally. In my head, I could think, okay, maybe someone in the village somewhere in Africa that has done something. Like, I have my different things in my head, but how do we? My point here is literally, how do you get me to the therapist couch?
That's a very hard thing to do. If it was this situation, I would not be the one coming to tell you. As an African, I would speak to your friend. Okay, right?
So those are tips. Okay,
yes. I would speak to your friend and be like, Uncle Jimmy, I'm feeling like, Dad he's not doing so okay. I feel like maybe he's drinking too much and he's sad a lot. He sleeps a lot, and I think that you guys need to. I think he would really benefit from a therapist. And there's this male African therapist I found, right? You see the same demographic. Then there's a chance. Chance of the person agreeing. Why? Because you don't want to walk into a place with somebody who does not have your lived experiences. That is also difficult, right? Like, personally, I may not feel, or some people may not feel comfortable going to see a white therapist. It's really all about meeting people where they are at, instead of selling them something that does not feel true or native or natural to them.
But there's one thing that I'm curious about, and I think it could be very educative to our audience. What is the trigger? So, for example, if I don't know, if I cut my arm and I'm bleeding, I'm like, oh, I need to go see a doctor, right? How do I? So, what's the feeling that I get, or that or someone gets, and then once you get that feeling, go see a specialist or seek for help. Like, what's that feeling?
I don't know that I can explain what that feeling is, because it's different for everyone. But I'm very tempted to say when you know, you know. But it's almost like when your ankle is broken and you're like, it's okay, I can walk on it for today, and then it hurts more and you're like, it's okay, I'll just put some ice. And then you realize, okay, I really need to go to the doctor, and then the doctor is like, if you had walked on this foot for one more day, it would have amputated you, you know? But then you wait for that long. So what I would say is, once the sadness starts to arise.
So sadness, okay.
Well, there are many things. I think if you just feel a sense of there's something wrong and I don't know what it is.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think that would describe like a very general feeling of there's something wrong, there's something, but I can't pinpoint it.
Okay.
And so I think that is usually a good indicator that perhaps you should talk to someone.
Okay, sadness, isolation, and a feeling of something is not right. Okay.
Yeah, I think those are good indications. But also at the same time, when things are also going well, when you get a new promotion, when you start a new school or whatever it is, it's a good thing, it's a great thing. But settling into that role, it's hard.
Yep.
You can talk to somebody about that.
They need to adapt to something new.
Adapting to something. So even like, folks who move from African or Caribbean countries and move to the West, move to Canada, it's like
new culture and new environment.
Yep. It's difficult. So you need to talk to talking to somebody who understands, your lived experience.
Okay. So you look at the signs, the triggers, and then you go for a solution. But then when you're looking for a solution, you have to try to find something that works for you, because we're all different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
That's it.
And I think they got it too.
You touched on so many good points. I think what we can take away from this is that mental health in itself is not white man-made. It's something that has been present within the African community. And we've been practicing it through holistic healing back home. And we moved here, things got different, the environment, realities, and we found it in community, which I never really thought of it that way. But it's true that when we do gather in community, we are able to find those warm, to feel the same way we used to feel back home, the love, the warmth, and just feel at your place. And I think it's very important to try to find communities that you can join, whether it's, like you said, through dancing, arts, anything that you enjoy, but just to feel to feel like you're home, feel like you're with your people, and somehow, some way, there's going to be opportunities where you'll be able to express yourself on the things you're going through. It'll come naturally, I believe, like when you bond with people. And so, as we're ending off this episode, would you give us the honor to let us and our viewers know about some resources? Where can they find resources, whether it's online, community centers, anything, to someone listening to us who might be dealing with depression or going through a lot but might not have anyone to speak to? Where would you direct them?
We have, I would say, like in Montreal, there's the Black Healing Center.
Okay.
So if you just search Black Healing Center, you'll get to see some of the resources that are there in terms of, if you need a helpline number, if you need a therapist to work with, you can see some of the events that they do as well. There's wellness circles and yes, events. There's also Black Mental Health Connections. We have peer support groups, individual therapy as well. You can also go to the website and get to see some of the events that are there. But I think we live in a day and age where things are easily Googleable.
Yep.
So if you literally look for Black mental health spaces in Montreal, you will find a whole list of things. And then also looking for your community's association. Like, I know some of them might be on Facebook or Instagram, because that's how I found the Kenyan community here. I just searched Kenyan community in Quebec, and it was like, whoa! And meeting these people, they've become my family here, So if I didn't search, if I was just like, I don't know any Kenyan, there are no Kenyans, well, I didn't bother searching.
Where can they find you if ever they want to consult with you or just look more into your work?
You can find me on Psychology Today. Just search Akinyi Oluoch, book a consultation. You can email me on social media. You can find me as Akinyi Drama Therapist, still developing that page. And that's where you can find me. I've done some work with the Black Healing Center, with Black Mental Health Connections, and there are amazing resources for people from the African diaspora here in Montreal. So I'd really urge you to just use your fingers and the internet and build that community, because it is important that we heal together and that we thrive together.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm already feeling healed.
Well, thank you so much, Akinyi, for your presence and for all your words of wisdom and your knowledge. We really appreciate you taking the time to come and record with us today. And thank you, Fidelis.
Thank you.
So that was it, ladies, aunties, gents, and uncles. We shall see you on the next episode of Dozy Kona.
Until next time.
Until next time.